Hi, I'm James Eade of the Eade Foundation. And who am I and what is the Eade Foundation and what are we doing here today? Well, welcome viewers to the 38th episode of the Chess Files. The answers are out there. Hi, Mom. And a little bit about me. Well, I was started playing chess in 1972. I was 15 years old, and by the time I was a senior in high school, I was able to win adult tournaments, and I thought I was getting pretty good. I became a FIDE master. What's a FIDE master? A FIDE master is a player who's strong enough to fight with grandmasters, but not strong enough to become one. So I turned my attention to chess organizations, chess organizing tournaments at Grandmaster and International Norm tournaments. And I also started writing books. The one that people have heard about is the Chess for Dummies. That was one of the best things that I have done in chess. And I've done so many things that in 2018, the United States Chess Federation gave me an Outstanding Career Achievement Award. So that's a little bit about me. Well, what's the Eade Foundation? The Eade Foundation is dedicated to building communities through chess. Doesn't matter what country you're from, it doesn't matter what language you speak. If you play chess, you're part of the chess community. And if you do not have the resources to start a program where you are, the Eade Foundation will help you get started to form a community wherever you are, whatever country you're living in, whatever language you speak. It just doesn't matter. We can help you get started and build your own chess community wherever you are. And that's the nature of the Eade Foundation. And we've started programs in Uganda, Uganda, Zambia, and we've done little programs, we've had 4 nations in Africa alone. We've also got a country, Nicaragua is another place we've started helped us start a chess program to build a chess community. We start with the younger kids, because if you give the gift of chess to a child, it's a gift that can last a lifetime. So this is what the Eade Foundation is all about. We also promote chess literacy, the ability to read and write chess notation, because that opens up the world of chess literature, chess books. And that is how I got started. I got started by getting better in chess by reading chess books. But now we also promote chess excellence. And chess excellence is, we have the Arthur Award, which Alexei Ruud from the UT Dallas won last year. And it's a person who's doing something that's consistent with the mission of the Eade Foundation. And you get the Arthur Award every year. It's worth $1,000 to help you do whatever it is you do. We also help start programs in senior centers across the country. We run scholastic tournaments. So it's about kids. It's about older adults, because chess is a lifetime activity. It's an educational tool, and the skill sets you learn are directly transferable back into the classroom. So it's a gift of education to children, and it's a pleasant pastime as an adult, and it's a solace in old age. When you're playing a game of chess, you're not worried about your next doctor's appointment or your hospital bills or anything like that. You're just transported into the world of chess. And so that's what the Eade Foundation is all about. So what's the Chess Files? The answers are out there. Well, we ask a question, and when it's a question that may have occurred to me or been asked of me, and I didn't have such a good answer, and I wanted to bring on an expert guest. Today's question is, how has chess changed in the last 50 years? I got started in 1972, and I think my guest, Paul Whitehead, got started in 1972 too. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah, is that right? Is that when you got started playing chess?
Yeah, I was in upstate New York, and I was a kid riding my bicycle. It was summertime, and I was riding my bicycle and swimming in the pool. And there was a little boy about my own age, and he invited me over to his house. And my father had taught me and my brother how to play chess, but that was the extent of it.
Right.
And
me too.
I go over there, and he's got chess books, and we play a game of chess, and he's talking about the Sicilian defense and the Roy Lopez or something like that. And I'm
both lanes.
And I'm fascinated, just instantly. And then he also said that there was a show on TV with Shelby Lyman.
Yes. Shout out to Shelby Lyman. Rest in
commenting
peace.
on the World Chess Championship match with Fischer Spassky, and so it was, in a sense, media as well that got me into the world of chess because suddenly I realized that there was this huge world out there, and well, anyway, it fascinated me. So
Well, so you grew up because my producer's in my ear to ask the human interest questions. You grew up in upstate New York, is that right?
no, 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 no.
Oh,
I was spending summer with my grandparents.
oh, I see.
Uh, my parents, we were living in Europe at the time, in Scotland actually, and my parents were
Uh-huh.
teachers and teaching on an American base and living off of base. And I flew to Scotland. I mean, I flew from Scotland uh, to upstate New York to spend the summer with my grandparents.
Were your parents teaching American to Scots or Scottish to Americans?
They were just general education
Oh, I
teachers,
see. Okay.
teaching
Inside joke for the Irish, Scotch Irish. So, where do you live now then? If
San Francisco.
San Francisco. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So you're a Bay Area chess FIDE master.
yeah. Indeed, I I work at the Mechanics Institute Chess Club. That's
Shout
where
out to the mechanics.
that's where I played my first chess tournament,
Uh-huh.
and uh, yeah, I was immediately hit the. My parents moved back to San Francisco, where I had mostly grown up, and in 1972, and I hit the ground running. Me and my brother started playing in chess tournaments immediately. Um, there were no kids playing chess basically, apart from me and my brother. We were sort of we were the youngest almost always at chess
Right.
tournaments,
Right.
and now there's kids. Half of the players are kids, and
Oh, absolutely.
that's been one of the big changes.
Yes. I
Is
couldn't agree more. Because
massive influx of children playing chess.
when I
It,
was in high school, I was usually in the adult tournaments the youngest player. And now, like starting chess to learn chess at 15, you're ancient. The kids today are so advanced compared to what when you and I started. But you and your brother got strong pretty quick, right?
yeah, well, I mean, the Bay Area was a fantastic place to nurture chess players, and
Excuse me. Let me kill that. Sorry.
yeah, so there was a tournament every weekend, and so we would be either at the Mechanics Institute Chess Club, or playing in a chess tournament, driving with friends to a chess tournament, or sometimes going to the cafes, local chess cafes in San Francisco. There was the Sacred Grounds. There was the Meat
Uh-huh.
Market coffee shop.
Uh-huh.
These are places that are long gone. Actually, the Sacred Grounds is still there
Oh, 50
on
years.
on
Shout out to Sacred Grounds.
on Hayes Street, and they have a chess set in there. I was in there recently, so the chess can still be played in cafes, even
That's
though it,
amazing. That's
yeah,
how we grew up, though. That's basically going to tournaments or, going to sometimes going to someone's home, sometimes going out, and when we got a little bit older, we could find chess. They weren't really chess clubs. They were just gathering of chess players.
yeah. I mean, one of my friends was Jeremy Silman, and I used to
Oh,
go over to his house all the time, and he'd be studying chess and listening to the Tubes, and other like proto punk rock bands
yeah,
and stuff like
yeah.
that. And
Well, he
um,
became an international master, and he's a fabulous author. I think
yeah, yeah.
anybody out there that reads a Silman book, go get one. I'm sure you won't regret it.
So I was very very lucky to have a community like you
Yes.
talk about, a very powerful chess community here in the Bay Area that tolerated me and my brother's like impish and sometimes boorish behavior.
Uh-huh.
We were brash and but we were we were appreciated, and the chess community took us in without
Yes.
reservation.
And it was also intergenerational. Like you had people your age, but also grown-ups when you were a kid. And
Yeah,
people,
not so many our age. Very
right.
few.
Very
My
few, right.
brother were. It was not usual. There was a few young players like Victor Baja,
Very
who's
good
a
player.
master,
Yep.
and but not many. Um,
Right. So you were usually associating with people your parents' age or maybe even your grandparents' age, right?
Well, yeah, yeah, or guys in their me and my brother when they're our early teens, and they're our community was chess players in their 20s.
Yeah.
Like
You look up to them.
like Silman and the funny thing is, Jim, it's still like that. Like when I'm hanging around with Nick DeFermian and Elliot Winslow, they they treat me like a little kid, like a little brother, like they don't take me seriously in this
Yeah.
way that they would if I was only a few years older. So there's no getting past it.
I had Joel Benjamin on the show, and we talked about that because to me he was a kid, and
Right,
he told me, Ted, to me you were an old man,
right.
and he's like what 8 years younger than I am. It's like but that age gap at that time was
Yeah,
immense,
yeah. But
and
there's still no getting away from it.
yeah. Joel Benjamin in his grandmaster in his 50s, and I still think of him as the young Joel.
Yeah, it's
It's
pretty
funny,
funny.
but that was the community then. And yeah, you mentioned the Mechanics Institute, and that is the oldest continuous running chess club in America,
Yeah,
in the United States.
yeah,
It started in the 1850s
yeah.
sometime. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that is a
You
gem.
were the director of the Mechanics Institute Chess Club at
Yes, I
one
did. I did direct it at the. I wasn't going to bring that up, but thank you for mentioning that. I was running it for a couple of years, but I was basically hanging out there before that because there were people like Steve Brandwine who was around and who was a
one of my
great
very best friends.
conversationalist, great blitz player, but he was also you could talk to him about any subject, anything in the world. He had read something about it.
Steve was my friend both in chess and outside of chess, and
Yes,
he just a great friend of mine. So
right.
I miss him dearly.
Oh, so do I. Yes, and anyone who knew him, he was one of a kind. And he was before we had these chess databases. He was the guy you would go to. He said, "Remember a game in Argentina Walter Brown played?" And he would remember the game.
Chess players have great memories, and or chess masters have notoriously good memories, and Steve
Yeah,
had an excellent memory even for um, uh, a chess master. Yeah.
yeah. And I seem to remember my losses more than my wins.
Yeah.
It's what we say about the Irish. You just never you can forgive, but you can't forget.
Can you forgive? That's good that you can forgive.
We'll hang on to our grudges until the end.
That's great.
But that was the way it is now. So that was 1970s, and Bobby Fischer had won the world championship from Boris Spassky in a Titanic match that was covered in the press. It wasn't just it was on TV. It was on the front cover of New York
If
Times.
you didn't live through that time, you have no idea. I mean, we think, wow, the Queen's Gambit and the internet, and that's big, but it was nothing like what it was in 1972. I mean, it was an international event, the
Yes,
match, and it was the Cold War, and
right.
front
East
page.
versus West.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there is a chess renaissance now, and it's fabulous. But I don't think it's quite the same as it was back then. It was really remarkable, and I was lucky to get swept up in it. It's been a community. It's been part of my life for so long now. It's just I don't know what it would have been like without it. My
Well,
oldest
that's
friends are chess players, and
yes. Yes, that's so true. And I wanted you to be on the show because, you know, we're really contemporaries, although I grew up on in the East Coast and you grew up on the West Coast. So we didn't know each other at that time,
Right.
but you know, we lived through the same times. Like that, such that drama that was so inspirational to players like us. We wanted to get as good at, you know, be like Bobby Fischer, you know, and of course he had a tragic ending, but it was our hero at the time. And we thought, hey, maybe, you know, because the Soviets at the time, they were called the Soviet Union, and they dominated chess.
Right.
And here is an American all pretty much all by himself taking
Oh
them
yeah.
down.
Yeah. So it was really a show.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the players, American players, emulated Fisher with their with the move, with their openings,
Openings. Yeah.
you know, and
Everybody played the Nysdor Sicilian. Yeah.
right,
It's like,
yeah. But and how has chess changed in the last 50 years? It's changed a lot, but it hasn't changed in other ways. I mean, still,
interesting.
now that people are going back to playing over the board, there was some thought of, well, is this going to be, are people going to want to play over the board? And boom, they're back. In my view, I think it's hard to take internet chess seriously as over the board play. You might be playing a game, a very important game on the internet, but you can't look into your opponent's eyes and
Yes.
stare them down or something, and it just doesn't have the same oomph that it does. And I think people realize that just like you can't play, tennis on the internet, in a way you can't really play chess on the internet. You've got to be face to face with somebody, and I think that people recognize that, and that internet chess is just not quite the same serious,
Oh.
has the same weight that
I
that
I
that
couldn't agree more, and it is not to put it down because it's great. And somebody can play anybody anywhere at any time, so it's
yeah.
wonderful, and it's a big boost to the overall chess community. But you're quite right to point out that internet competition is not like face-to-face competition. You know, there is that you could see the look of surprise on your opponent's face when you play a move. And even if they have a great poker face, you can usually see something that it's a tell. You know that you've surprised them, and you
Yeah,
can't tell that over the internet. So
and there's just the the well, the fact that you're physically present, and
yes,
uh, so my feeling is that over the board play is going to not only remain, but maybe recognized even more strongly as by people as there's something dissatisfying about playing chess seriously on the internet. If you want to be frivolous, then it's a great place to be.
absolutely. And
But
even it's just an entertainment factor. You know, now you can watch grandmasters play, and you can
sure,
watch it. It's fun. You know, so you don't have to necessarily even be playing. You can watch in ways that we couldn't even imagine.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but this is true about the over the board competitions. I don't think it's going to be replaced by the internet. The over the board competitions are where you build this sense of community. You know, you. I used to go to a tournament and make a new friend.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You know, and that's
It's
not really
you
as
could meet
likely.
you
Yeah,
could even meet the love of your life. Who knows?
yeah, yeah.
At
And
a
that's
chess tournament.
changed too. In 1972, the presence of women was almost non-existent, and now
That's right.
women are everywhere.
Yeah. Right, right. So that's been a very, very good, and the influx of young people into the game has been
Yes,
great. The quality of play, of course, has been a steady improvement, and I think there would be anyway, whether there was the internet or not. We're just seeing the evolution of chess. There's bound to be an improvement. Have computers helped with that? yes and no. I mean, in some respects, you know, uh, you have to know how to use a computer to help your chess along. For the super grandmasters, chess has a I don't know. I mean, I heard Sam Shanklin say, talking about his, all of his computers, hardware that he had at home, and it was very different from how we were all learning chess back in our day.
We had bookshelves,
Bookshelves,
magazines.
yeah,
Yeah.
bookshelves and magazines, and then get-togethers with other strong players, and tournaments were held once. A strong tournaments would, you'd see, you know, the top players would play once a month or once every 2 months or something
Yes.
like that. Now they're playing constantly. So,
That's interesting.
on the internet and stuff. So that's another way things have changed, and the quality of play has. I mean, we saw Kasparov just playing and getting killed, and
Right.
that's only after a small break from chess. I mean, these top elite players are so well trained now that um, you know, and they're maintaining that level by this constant computer um, uh, assistance and playing
And the
all the time.
openings have been analyzed so precisely. Like I think that what Kasparov found out was opening preparation ain't what it used to be. You
That's
know,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so and you can't give an advantage to a super grandmaster out of the opening. You know,
Yeah, or have a gap in your knowledge that you can try to improvise over the board, because
right?
these are young players now um, with tremendous memory, of course, but they're also in cutthroat competition with each other in
All the time, right?
all the time. So there's no margin for error. I mean,
Right.
uh, I asked Mamajirov, when he was at the mechanics, I said, because he's 30 plus, I think. And I said, and he constantly is traveling and playing chess. And he said, this is my life. This is what I do. I play chess all the time.
Wow.
It's just not, there's no stopping it. And that's the sense that you get from these players, that they, all of the top players now are, there's a, I'm not going to say one dimensional, but there's not room for them to do much else to stay at that level. You don't have the uh, the pianist chess player, or the stamp
Right.
collecting chess player, or
Right.
whatever it was. Now you just have the chess player, and
Or
that's
the 40-hour work, 9 to 5 worker chess player. The
yeah,
weekend warriors that can't compete.
right. No, that's true.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Kasparov found that out to his, I
Probably
mean, I
shock.
know I know it's just a blitz match, and he's an older man, but it's the lines are drawn here.
Yes. And,
Yeah.
we used to think that in 1972, we would think that you kind of peaked in your 30s because by then you would have enough expertise and you would have enough experience. And you still had the vitality of the young youth so that you could spend hours of concentration and then wake up and do it again. And so you didn't get fatigued the way people my age get fatigued. And
Yeah.
so even after 4 hours of an intense game, I start to lose my ability to calculate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And to do it again the next day, it's too much for me. But so we used to think we peaked in their 30s, but nowadays they're peaking younger and younger and younger because they're getting all that experience when we were just getting started.
Right. Yeah, it's a different ball. It's a completely different
Yeah.
ball game. It's like we were talking about right beforehand. I mean, the strongest players back in our day were, you know, chain smoking Russians in their that died in their 50s. Petrosian, um, Tall, and
Stein.
Poluyevsky. All these these incredibly talented players. Um, but now it's young computer nerds. you know,
Yeah,
you, it's a com-
it's the revenge of the nerds.
yeah, it's
No,
revenge of
it's
the nerds. But also I think that it's not necessarily that the current crop of players are more talented. I think that there's a different kind of training going on now with chess players. I mean, I've played young players that are up and coming players. I'm not going to boast, but I beat Josiah Stearman a couple of years ago. He's now an international master. He was a 20. He was my rating, 2350 at the time, and they getting all their stuff from computers. But we were well trained back in our day. I think in terms of um, our understanding of chess was just as good in a way. It's a master's understanding of chess, and it's not something that you can just pick up by owning the fastest computer. You have to have an aptitude and a chess mind. You have to
right.
have the chess mind.
Yes, I think that's true. Some people have it and some people don't. And it's a little independent of like how you do in school or how you do in sports or other activities. You could be basketball smart, you can be, and you can be chess smart. You just wired the way that you understand it. And those players it's kind of like it's a nature nurture thing. If you're born with that advantage and you nurture it, then you become a very strong player. But let me ask you this, because I was a talented, for the times, a talented player in high school, but I made a quantum leap when I went to college. My first semester, I got to play regularly with international master Danny Kopek.
Mm-hmm.
And we played countless blitz games, and both Danny and I thought 5 minutes took too long, so we played 2 minute chess. So I don't know how many times, but he would play his Kopek system, and I would make errors and errors and errors, and then I would fine tune it, and then I got to where I could hold my own against his system. And but I got so much stronger by playing against him, analyzing with him, talking to him, because he was a 2 levels ahead of me, three, and I just got better and better just by playing with him. And it was so nowadays that was a rare opportunity for me, and that was nowadays they have coaches, and
Right. Coaches
we didn't know what
were
coaches were.
known. Right. Yeah.
Nobody could make a living teaching chess.
No.
Now they can.
And now you can, yeah, be coached by a grandmaster from Azerbaijan while you sit in your room in Texas.
Yes.
And this is, a tremendous opportunity for
Right.
young players, and they're jumping on it, and they're becoming very strong because of it.
Yes. Yeah.
And who knows how far we would have gone if we had had that, or if we would have gone that route anyway. But
Right.
we were of our time, and we
Yes.
did with what
No
we had.
regrets. No
We had
regrets.
we had we were did what we could with the tools that we were given.
Right.
And if I look back at my chess career, I reached a certain point and then didn't want to go any further. I knew what it took to become a stronger player, and I did not go that way. I
I
continued.
made the same decision.
My chess petered out, and I was, kind of like I stopped playing seriously, and because I didn't want to put in the work.
And it takes a lot of work. So
It
these
does
kids,
take a lot.
even though they're getting training and they have chess engines to help them, all of that kind of stuff is stuff that we didn't have, but it still takes work. It still takes
Absolutely.
enormous amount of work.
It takes it.
So tip of the hat to every kid out there getting strong.
Yeah, you need to. I mean, it helps to get a start when you're young, but on the other hand, there are late learners like Sam Shanklin. You know, and
Grandmaster,
he's a one of the world's elite players now, and he just
former
advanced.
U.S. world champion, national champion.
I
Yeah.
think he's just advanced into the third round of the World
Yes.
Cup by beating Jabava, and he's a player that was a late bloomer, and it just goes to show for the rest of us that it's possible.
Yeah,
And who knows what is possible for human potential? It could
that's
be
correct.
there could be a 70-year-old world champion one day,
Maybe.
and because who knows?
Yeah, with all the bioengineering going on, they could be just the fountain of youth could be around the corner. Yeah.
Watch out, you youngsters! You know,
Yeah, we're coming back. We're coming for you. But
the
it's
more
part of
things
what's changed.
the more things change, the more they. What I'm just saying is that what it takes to be a good player is still hard work
Yes.
and competitive drive, and no amount of chess engines or whatever is going to change that.
And you have to sacrifice. You know, we sacrifice pieces, but to become a strong player, you also have to sacrifice time, energy, and you cannot do that for pursue another career. You know, as some could in the old days, they could become an engineer, they could become a computer scientist while becoming a strong, maintaining their strength as chess players. But that's really hard to do now. I think you really have to become the dedicated chess professional.
Yeah, the world champions were all professionals. I mean,
Correct.
Tal was a journalist, but he was writing
Yeah.
about chess, which is
Yeah.
probably helping his chess.
All right.
Um, and so, you know, I look back at these. I mean, these were really incredible players. These world champions. These, you know, all going all the way back. And now it's a, you know, it's a different story. Carlsen is the first computer era, you know, chess world champion, and his play reflects that. It's just it's you know he
So
play,
sound.
he plays. Somebody was saying, you know, that who is it? That Fisher had somebody had only played a certain like 10 games in his life that went over 80 moves or something like that, whereas Carlsen has played already 100, you know, games. So he's willing to just sit it out and play move after move after move of, you know, marginally better chess than the other guy, you know, and then win in the end. It's
Yeah.
really remarkable. It's a different game.
And it's true. It's one of the basic tenets of chess that, you know, 40 moves, good moves, can be ruined by one bad move.
Right.
And to play 100 moves without making that one bad move, that's
Yeah.
astounding.
That's what Carlsen can do. And
Yeah.
that's what separates him, you know, from the rest of the players. Of course, there's
Yeah.
talent and hard work as well, but and I love his quote about computers and chess. And you know, of course, if I'm going to give any advice to a young player about computers, don't play computers. And Carlson says he doesn't play computers. Why? Because it's like playing an idiot that beats you all the time.
I hadn't heard that. That's great.
So,
But it's not like playing another person.
oh
It's not
no,
like, yeah.
no, it's completely different than playing a person. And
And when you sit down over the board, you're playing another person. You're not playing a computer.
right.
So you want to be good at beating human beings, not at beating computers.
Yeah, and they can't tell you how they're thinking, and so
Right.
the
Exactly.
you know, we need explanation as to
Yes.
what's going on.
They
So
can evaluate a move like this is plus zero point 0.5, and this other move would be plus 0.3, but they can't tell you why. You know, yeah, and it's like, and what difference does it make? Plus 3, plus 5 to a human? how relevant is that to me? So,
Right.
and what
You
I
need
want
to
to do,
understand.
is predict my opponent's move, not the best move necessarily, but what is most likely my opponent going to play. So if
Right.
Stockfish criticizes my move later on, who cares? I won the game.
You're just
It's
doing the best you can. That's what I
yeah,
tell everybody. If you're just trying to make the best move that you can, then you're doing as well as anybody as can be expected. You can't.
right,
That's the thing about chess is you're off the hook in a sense. If you make the effort, then you're off the hook. That
right,
you did the best you could, and that's all of us can do.
right.
You know?
And I think the last thing I want to mention, and I think you agree, is the opening preparation is the biggest change in the last 50 years in terms of you could get away with just playing random, not random moves, but independent moves that weren't necessarily the best, and you didn't care so much. You could wing it, and today you can't wing it. You've got to
Well,
be prepared.
I think that, well, if you want to try to extract, especially at the top levels,
Right.
yeah, that's certainly true. I mean, um, and so they've gone to playing these things like the four knights and that and things that look on the surface are dullish, like the slow pez, right? Instead of
Right.
the you know
Read a little text.
on the surface they look quite dull, but they're investigating, the top players and their computers are
Mm-hmm.
investigating these positions, even these dull looking openings into pass move 20 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
And the combination of the human creativity and the computer accuracy can produce ideas that weren't thought of in those dull positions.
right.
And yeah, that
Yeah,
we,
so the
yeah.
openings are being, kind of delved into, but that shouldn't concern the rest of us too much.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I still advise students not to pay too much attention to the opening, and that if they that sound general principles will prevail.
Oh, when you're learning the game and trying to get good at it early on, I couldn't agree more. You know,
And
the
and
yeah,
there's that funny story where if you take the opening book away from the computer, right, and pit it against a great grandmaster, it'll still beat the grandmaster because it's just playing chess.
right.
It doesn't have anything to do with the opening. Naroditsky played a match against a computer, and the computer, without the computer's opening book, and the computer beat him. So
But the other change that I have seen in the last 50 years is the ability of females to play. Uh, because when it used to be, you'd walk into a chess club, it was an intimidating thing to walk into. And it was usually mostly men. And they didn't ask me because I moved around and I got promoted. I got kicked out of houses and different things. And so I would go to a new town and I would go to the local chess club. And nobody asked me, hey, what's your name? They asked me, hey, what's your rating? So
right.
that was how you were judged. And so there was a lot of judgment and a lot of intimidation, and it kept it kind of male club only for a long time. And now, because you can play with your friends, you can get good by studying out over the internet, or your coach could be someplace way, way far away from you, and you can still learn. There's so many more ability to learn and get good. And then when you walk into a chess club, they say, hey, what's your rating? Say it's better than yours.
Right.
And so then women have the confidence to compete. And it's just wonderful to see. And it's
There's
really
still
been
a
a change.
fallout. There's still a fallout. If you go to a chess tournament, a youth tournament, there'll be a lot of girls and boys. But
Yes.
once the age hits over a certain age, the girls still fall out of chess, and people are still trying to figure out how to keep girls interested
Yes.
after the elementary school level.
There was a wonderful book called Schoolgirls by Peggy Orenstein, who is a Bay Area journalist, and it defined how we systematically discourage women in STEM. Now we call it STEAM. The sciences and the math and the technology. How we systematically train them out. And so that is a societal problem that we haven't yet conquered, and it's reflected in chess, as you say.
Well, it's definitely encouraging to see all the women that are playing chess now. It's a completely different chess world than the one you and I were playing in.
Yes.
Um, I was actually lucky to play some of the top women players in the United States. At the time, I played Diane Savoy at a tournament game,
Master. Yeah.
and she was the leading American woman player for many years.
Yes.
And uh, and others like Ruth Herring
Right.
um, and then I just by the I'm going to leave in a minute, but this story I got to play Judith Polgar once.
Uh-huh.
I was in New York and I was pretty much out of chess, or not serious competitive chess player, and I was at the village chess shop, and a friend of mine walks in with this young girl, and he says, Paul, his name is Israel, and he says, Paul, I want to introduce you to, it was just a happenstance because I didn't know Israel was in New York. He was usually in San Francisco. And
Uh-huh.
he had in tow with him was this little 11-year-old girl. And I want you to meet my friend Judith. And I knew who she was because I'd already heard a lot. So
The Polgar sisters. Yeah.
let's play. Why don't you play Paul a game? He's a strong player, and so we played a blitz game, and which I remember. I don't remember the game, but I remember she won, and I remember her disinterest. She was kind
Oh,
of staring off into space, chewing some gum, and twirling her hair
yeah.
while beating me. You know, but my star was falling while hers
Yes.
was rising. We might have been about the same strength at the time, but I remember distinctly being,
Yeah.
impressed by that.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
got to play the strongest woman player that ever lived in her trajectory
She was
towards
top
the
10
top.
all in the world. Yeah.
And
So
so chess, we're lucky to have stories like this, and I've been
yes.
very, very lucky, I think,
Yes.
um, you know, every here and there to have um, brushed up with great chess players. I've seen Petrosian play. I played tall a few blitz games. I have
That's
really
hey,
been lucky.
and you did it in a blitz tournament that we both were playing in, which is the
As
only
we
tournament I
can.
remember playing with you in it. But we were in different brackets, and you were in the towel bracket.
Been so lucky.
Yes,
And
and it is such good fortune that we came at a time when Fischer won the world championship and chess became popular, and it stayed with us all our lives.
and I think it will for a lot of these young players too nowadays, that they're making their own memories and their own way in the chess world, and their stories will be just as remarkable as ours.
Yes,
I mean,
and
you
these
know,
are the ones we can
Paul and
tell.
I, Paul and I were smoking cigarettes together. That's
Yeah,
not going to happen anymore.
not anymore, no. Well, Paul, thank you so much for going down memory lane with me today. I really appreciate it. Thank
I'm
you for your time. And I'm going to take you backstage and say goodbye to our viewing audience. Hi, Mom. And, but we'll be in touch. I'll see you around sometime, I'm sure.
definitely. All right.
Okay.
Bye
Bye,
for now.
Paul. All right, that was Paul Whitehead, FIDE master. Works with the Mechanics Institute, the oldest continuously running chess club in the United States. And we talked about the old days, 1972, when we both got started, played our first tournament games in 1972, and what it's like 50 years later. Holy smokes, I really enjoyed that. Now, this has been the Chess Files. The answers are out there. We're on every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And this has been produced by the EAD Foundation. The EAD Foundation is dedicated to building communities through chess, wherever you are. Whatever language you speak, whatever country you're from, it just doesn't matter. Chess is the international language. So I hope you will see me next week at the same time. And until then, good chess.